It's Friday, November 29th, the day after Thanksgiving. You're listening to the Day Weather Podcast. Thanks for listening. Well, we have another major storm, as we all know, taking aim on the interior west and the western high plains. Over the last 24 hours, there really has not been much in the way of any significant changes in the weather forecast charts or our current thinking. It still looks as though central, northeast, and east central Wyoming, northwest Nebraska, and all of South Dakota, parts of southern Montana, North Dakota, will be the hardest hit with another major winter storm, the second major winter storm in a week. The areas to the south of the track of the storm, southern Wyoming, northern Colorado, northwest Kansas, and southwest Nebraska, will be hit by powerful winds. The winds are going to really just crank up and get going as the storm intensifies. We feel that not only will there be additional new snow and blowing snow, but as we mentioned in yesterday's podcast, the snow cover across northern Colorado and southern Wyoming is extensive, and it really hasn't melted much. While there is a little bit of a crust on top of that snow, once that crust is broken by the powerful winds that we're going to see later today, this is going to be especially true in the rural areas. Ground blizzards and blowing and drifting snow will be a really big problem, even in areas that don't get much new snow out of the storm system. Now let's outline where we think the heaviest snow will fall with this next new storm. It'll basically be along I-90, places like Gillette and Sundance, Wyoming, over to Rapid City and east of Rapid City, especially in the Black Hills, then south to about Casper, west to about Lander and Riverton, then down the Douglas to just north of Wheatland, then over to Lusk, Chadron, Alliance, Harrison, Nebraska, over to Mullen, Nebraska, into the Sand Hills. Now that area I just outlined, 6 to 12 inches of new snow. We're going to see at least 6 to 12 inches of new snow in the Sierra Madres and the snowy range of Wyoming, probably the mountains above Steamboat in a similar vein as well. So-far amounts in some mountain areas could exceed a foot. As you get into southern Wyoming, places like Laramie and Cheyenne, Sidney, Nebraska, probably looking at about 1 to 3 inches of new snow. Then for the northern parts of Colorado, maybe an inch or less. Northern Colorado going to basically get a snow shadow effect off of this system. But one thing that no one's going to avoid anywhere with the storm is the wind. Winds will be a problem in those heaviest snow areas, causing blizzard conditions. That's why we got blizzard warnings for northeastern Wyoming and western areas of South Dakota and northwest Nebraska. We also have a blizzard warning in effect for the I-80 stretch between Laramie and Rawlins, around that Arlington and Elk Mountain area. It'll be a full-fledged blizzard situation there tonight and tomorrow. The strong winds, the strongest winds, will be in the southeast corner of Wyoming and western Nebraska and northern Colorado. From Cheyenne to Sidney, Nebraska to Wellington, Colorado, maybe Fort Collins, we could see winds gusting 60 to 75 miles an hour during the day Saturday through Saturday evening. That's going to cause ground blizzard situations where there's loose snow, especially in the rural areas. So we could have roads closed, not from new snow, but from blowing the old snow around. Where there's new snow on top of the old snow with 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, well, you can do the math. It's going to be a really big mess. In regards to timing, we're going to see the snow falling today west of the divide. Places like Jackson Hole, Evanston, Wyoming, Rock Springs, Lander, Riverton, back into Salt Lake, Pocatello. Those areas will see the snow today. Now, by mid to late afternoon, the storm begins to advance northeast, and we're going to see a rapid increase in the snow from about Rawlins to Rock Springs, then into the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming, places like Worland, Thermopolis, Powell, and Cody, and then at Casper by mid to late day, and into the northeast by mid to late in the day. Then after sundown, right around sundown, snow will expand rapidly into Laramie, Cheyenne, Douglas, Wheatland, Torrington, Scotts Bluff, and then down into extreme northern Colorado. That snow will fall overnight into the morning hours of Saturday. Overnight and towards Saturday morning, the winds start to go and really get going. During the day Saturday through Saturday evening, the winds will reach their peak. in that 60 to 75 mile per hour range along I-25 and I-80 in southeastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, and northern Colorado. Strong winds will get all the way down south into the I-70 corridor of Colorado. The I-70 corridor of Colorado in the mountains can expect snow and wind as well. We expect the winds and the snow and the blowing snow to be a problem through the entire night Saturday, maybe into the morning hours of Sunday. Now, by Saturday night and Sunday morning, the snow should be over, but the winds will be the last thing to slow down. During the day, Sunday into Monday, we'll see the storm move out, the weather will improve. Whether or not the roads will improve enough to get open again, because we do expect closures, during the day, Sunday into Monday, we'll just have to wait and see. But the weather does get better by Sunday into Monday. Taking a peek into next week's weather, we see a break. We see the mountains having some chances for some snow showers Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we have another storm system that may start to affect us by next weekend. But at least during the work week, we don't have any major winter storms like the two that we're going through here this week. If you absolutely have to travel, if you're listening to this podcast early on this Friday, here's your chance. Because once we get to mid to late afternoon and tonight and into Saturday morning, road conditions across Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Montana, and parts of northern and northwest Colorado will deteriorate extremely rapidly. Travel's just not recommended tonight through Saturday night, really anywhere in those areas I just mentioned. Have yourself a great weekend despite that forecast. We'll talk to you on Monday.